What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, coming to you after what should have been a 28-27 Arkansas win, but it wasn't. You won't get the win, Razorback fan. You'll get maybe an apology. Will that be okay? You get your apology from the SEC office? I mean, what a load of crap. Somebody please explain to me how Bo Nix, taking the snap under center, wanting to clock the ball, fumbles the snap on the ground, picks it up, turns around and throws the ball into the dirt. Tell me how that's not a fumble. How is that not a fumble? It is a fumble. I cannot believe that once again the SEC has completely screwed Arkansas over. And that's probably about the second time that's happened in Jordan-Hare Stadium. The worst time probably 2009 at Florida. I mean, they pretty much decided the outcome of that game, suspended the referees afterwards. You got an apology. Congratulations on your apology. I mean, to have a team battle back the way they did. I mean, this game was 17-0 at one point. It was 17-0 Auburn. And it was because of special teams. We'll get to special teams. They were, once again, a disaster for Arkansas, which is just baffling how that's possible after everything they put into it. But Arkansas battles back, down 17-0. I've heard some people like criticize Felipe Franks for not doing this or doing that. Remember where Arkansas came from, people. Before you start criticizing the players and stuff, first of all, understand Auburn's got better players. They've out-recruited Arkansas. They've got better players. I mean, there's a time out there when I'm looking at the skill guys for Arkansas and I'm thinking, I don't know that they have a guy out here who would start for most of the SEC teams. Now, Traylon Smith may have changed my opinion for that. Had a great game. What do you have, like 80, almost 80 rushing yards, around 80 receiving yards, something like that. Definitely an offensive MVP for you in this one. There were some questionable calls. I don't expect Arkansas to play perfectly, and I don't think you should either, although I know it's one of the beautiful things about football is you just live and die on every play. You know, baseball's kind of like going, a picnic a lot of times, and then football is just like you just live and die every play. To see them battle back the way they did when we've seen so many Arkansas teams just kind of quit, it just goes to show that what we've been saying, once again, Arkansas has better talent overall than what people gave them credit for. They're not the disaster of a program that everybody said they were. They just aren't. And the guy on the other end, Chad Morris, calling plays, I mean, it just kind of burns you up, doesn't it, that he gets some satisfaction out of this. He gets a little "I told you so," which is total baloney because they were better, they were good before he got there. And that's just kind of what's got to irk you too. I mean, there was so much with this. It's not just one game, is it? It's not just one victory. It's everything that's happened to you so far. I mean, you're talking about back-to-back road SEC wins, which should have happened, and once again, just taken away. Arkansas finally gets a little luck. When's the last time Arkansas has been lucky? You know how the saying goes, I'd rather be lucky than good. Well, they were lucky here. Auburn made a mistake. Arkansas fell on the ball and capitalized the mistake. That is so much what football is all about, making your opponent pay for mistakes. That's what we talked about so much with the Mississippi State game last weekend. Make them pay for their mistakes. Arkansas did what they were supposed to do in that regard, but they weren't rewarded. So you'll get your apology maybe. Maybe somebody's got some crazy explanation that nobody's ever heard of, but I haven't seen it yet. I mean, I looked over Twitter, I looked at what other analysts were saying, like surely somebody's got some explanation for this, and I haven't seen anything. It's just another Arkansas screw job. They screwed you over with the toughest schedule in SEC history, in college football history, arguably, by giving you Florida and Georgia, on top of you already had the toughest schedule in the Western Division, and they added those games on top of what you had. And now this. And it comes against a team in Arkansas who's desperate for anything positive to happen. And it does. It finally does. And you get screwed by the referees just like you always have in this conference. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that say leave the SEC, all that kind of stuff. But this stuff keeps happening. I mean, it keeps on happening. And there's a saying that you make your own luck, but that's out of Arkansas's hands after they recover the fumble. Anyway, I've heard some people critical of Felipe Franks, and I want to get back on that because the guy was, 22 of 30 passing? 22 of 30 passing for 300-something yards and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. When's the last time an Arkansas quarterback did that? And I've heard people say he doesn't feel the rush well and all that stuff. And I get how it may look on camera and stuff, but you'd rather him just take the sack and not put the ball in jeopardy, which I think he does a lot. He made some really good throws. And again, I look out there and I'm like, where's your studs? You don't have Traylon Burks out there. You don't have Rakeem Boyd, who would have made a big, impact in this game too. But you had Traylon Smith, who picked up the slack, obviously. But it would have been nice to be able to rotate those guys. Maybe you end up with even more big plays and more sustained drives. But you don't have him. I mean, your 2 cornerbacks are out in this one. I mean, Jerry Jacobs came out pretty early in the game, and so you've got a true freshman and a redshirt freshman walk-on as your cornerbacks playing Auburn. At Auburn. To me, that just shows how good they have done coaching this team up, getting them to believe. And you've been told that your team, is a disaster, that they look like they've been recruited off NCAA sanctions, all of this negative stuff. It'll take 10 years for Arkansas to recover. And it's not true. It's not true. It came down to that guy on the other end of on that other sideline never being able to get this team to play for him. And some of the stuff just kind of, I know it rubbed you as an Arkansas fan the wrong way. It rubbed me the wrong way just because I was so tired of covering the Chad Morris here at Arkansas because it was just such an utter disaster. But to hear players say stuff like, we're playing this game for Chad Morris, or this one's personal, all that stuff is just such baloney. It really is. The idea that he was unjustifiably fired for going 2-18 against the FBS, 2-18. They won 2 FCS games. So just ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to watch some of this Ole Miss-Alabama game because Arkansas's got another shot at winning that one, beating Ole Miss in Fayetteville next weekend, an opportunity to get back home. Arkansas players, don't get your dander down on this one. You fought your heart out. You were down 17 points. You came back. You battled back. You showed resiliency. You should be proud of yourself. And I know Sam Pittman, that was the last thing that he said at the end of his press conference, which I missed most of it because I'm trying to gather all my stuff, but they got to it quickly. But you should be proud of yourselves. You got to remember what got you there. Now let's talk about special teams, because special teams was an utter disaster. It's mind-boggling how they put so much effort into special teams, and this is the result. You have another blocked punt in this one, which is a huge indicator that you're going to lose the game. And ultimately, these are the things that cost Arkansas. You miss an extra point, which I don't know that I put that so much on special teams. that's kind of a conditions deal. The ball slipped out of George Caratan's hand. They weren't able to get the kickoff. It's unfortunate, but I don't know why. We can dissect stuff. I don't know why you go for 2 there. The game's not on the line. There was another situation just a little while later after a score, and then, it's a 7-point game if you just kick the extra point. Field goal, everybody's not going to score a touchdown every time. There are field goals and all kinds of other points. So, but then, the ramifications of all that, of missing that extra point and then having to go for it, and just think about, I don't remember a lot of penalties in this game aside from special teams. A couple of illegal formations, that might have cost you here and there. There was one illegal formation got you off the field because Auburn had 12 men on the field and they were offsetting penalties. You would have kept the ball. So how many kicks went out of bounds today? And I know some of this is weather stuff, but how many kicks were kicked off out of bounds? There were the only real major disastrous things that happened to Arkansas in this game were special teams related. They were. And then, of course, just getting completely screwed over by the officiating crew. Again, I really hope there's some kind of rule or something. I really hope that there is some kind of rule that we don't know about, that we're overlooking, some kind of logical explanation for how they could have ruled that the way they did, because that should have been, unless there's something that we're missing. I'm like thinking, surely there's something that we don't know about. Surely there's something that we're missing here, because this can't be right. But I think it is. I think they just totally screwed them over. There was so much riding on this game for Arkansas. Getting a little bit of payback for Chad Morris. None of those guys like him. I don't care what they're saying. Those guys don't like Chad Morris. They didn't fight for him. 35-7 at halftime of Western Kentucky, and you just let it happen in a game that he has to win to keep his job, and you're just like, yeah, we're okay with it. Bringing Sam Pittman in here, feeling that energy and that vibe of those players rallying around him, fighting for him, bringing in Barry Odom, all of those factors. Kendall Browse, who was getting criticized earlier in the game, but, I mean, the offense was fine. You put up 400-something yards, should have won the game. So, disappointing ending for Arkansas, once again, for different reasons. Arkansas fans should be proud of their team. Razorback players should be proud of themselves. And, again, don't forget what got you to where you are right now. Keep grinding, keep battling, keep that chip on your shoulder, and you're going to keep winning some games, and you might win one next weekend against Ole Miss in Fayetteville when you return home. And Hog fans, I know you're going to show up for it. I mean, you can't only have like 16,500, but I feel like you're going to show up, and you're going to be show up and be loud. They got a chance to win some more games, and once again, this program is not in the disastrous state that everybody thinks it is. It's a result of the players not buying in to Chad Morris and his coaching staff. That is what happened at this program. And they've got it figured out. They have to continue to recruit. There's a lot of things that are going to go into rebuilding this program, but what did that just show you? I mean, think about how this season has gone so far. How they challenged Georgia in the first 38 minutes of that game, led Georgia for 38 minutes. The way that they went down to Mississippi State, and maybe LSU is dramatically overrated. They did lose to Missouri today, but that's still a big-time win on the road in the SEC against a team that just knocked off the national champions. And then this one, a game that meant so much more. Would have shut everybody. Arkansas would have been ranked nationally. They would have been nationally ranked after this game if they hadn't just got screwed over by the referees. I know I'm rambling and just repeating myself. I don't know if I said I'm just out in the middle of a field right now. I'm about half a mile from Sam Pittman's house. I actually can see, if it was light, I could see his house right there. And then Chad Morris's house is right across the street from it. Kind of a fitting spot. Anyway, everybody, we got some more stuff to do, so go to HawgSports.com. Read up all of our post-game content. And right now it's 2 months for $1, so that's a hell of a deal. 1.6 cents a day, less than 12 cents a week if you want to sign up at HawgSports.com. If you like insider VIP, recruiting news, Razorback coverage, go check us out at HawgSports. If you like the walk and talk, if you want to find out ways to support us, go sign up at HawgSports. It's a great deal right now, 2 months for $1. All right, everybody. We'll see what the SEC office has to say about this one. Maybe somebody's got a decent excuse. I doubt it. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.